ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing today? I think today we got rid of the echo. This is Kevin. I think I need to go like this. Lovely, lovely Kevin. And
Hello.
he is our world designer. So if you guys have been lucky enough to play SRP so far, understandably with console players, we're sorry you haven't done it yet, but this is the man that does all the research to do with the terrain. And did you make some of the vegetation for this one too, Kev? Because that's what you
I
did.
I'm I made some of the research and a part of the vegetation, but most of the vegetation is Tony.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. That's cool. Because that's kind of how you transitioned, right? Like you made a lot of vegetation. Was it Varonga you first joined us?
I joined 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago for Varanga,
Yeah.
and I've done vegetation on every reserve except this one
Yes.
since.
Yeah. Look at that. And then Pepe, you were came up underneath that champion of a man, and look at what you've produced, Kevin. You've got to be absolutely wrapped with this map.
Yeah, I like it. I like it quite a lot. It's always weird to judge because I have like my head and my eyes on it. I've been having my eyes on it for 6 months, so it's a bit
It's
weird. But
yeah. Is there like pockets where, like, how many times do you go over a map? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many renditions does it take to get it to this stage?
I don't know. It's about like 5 months of constant work of playing the game every day
Yeah.
and playing like every inch of it every day.
Yeah. That is, yeah, it's, I mean, because this is the question I wanted to ask you, Kevin. Is this map bigger than the other maps?
Well, the terrain is
Yes.
the actual playable area is not.
Okay.
But it had to be bigger. The terrain had to be bigger for like simple physical reasons. Let's say we knew from the start that we wanted to have a certain roster of animals, from mountain goat to pronghorn, and
Yeah.
those two animals have very different habitats. So we wanted to have high mountain and plains, and the problem when you have that is that you have to have a gradation, like a good space between the low space and the high space. So we needed space for the terrain to look
Okay.
natural. So you don't
Okay.
have like a sharp slope that's not playable.
I gotcha. So when you say it's bigger, it's because of the vertical elements of the map. Is that
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
I
yeah.
gotcha.
More verticality brings more like space
Yeah. I gotcha.
horizontally.
Yeah, it's good. And you know what? Like, this is one thing because it's one of my little weird pet peeves in here is like some of the hills in Hirschfeld and stuff. It's just impossible to climb up. And this
Yeah.
map is easy, and it's so high. Like, you guys really got it nailed. I think. Like, there'll be some people I think in chat here too that feel the same about Hirschfeld, as you feel like you're just jumping, and you never get anywhere. And this is so easy to navigate this map. So that was a big a positive for me too when it came out. So
That
that
was one of the hard things about this one, and then I wanted to make sure that it was possible. And I kept in mind that thing of we want low and high, and we want to be able to traverse and go around easily with those. It's not been easy for everything, like roads, for example. Uh, Roads have to have like this distinct snake shape,
yep.
so you go up like
Yeah, there's some classic
in
ones
in,
like
in
up in
a
here.
flat manner. Like it's weird.
Yes, or these
But
ones here. Oh, you can't. You know,
yeah, and
see right.
this one, the
Yeah,
one that goes up. Yeah,
yeah.
this one. It has to be this way, but yeah. And you don't want because when you make something like this, it has to have playable space. And I shout out to Ronak on this, who worked. Like I asked him a lot about this at first because I'm an artist at first. At first, I'm not a designer, so I tend to rely on designers for gameplay stuff. But I didn't want like a lot of space of the map that would be wasted because the slope would be like 45 degrees
Yeah,
and
I
you can't
gotcha. Yeah.
hunt on it. So I tried to make sure that there is as much playable space within the reserve that's actually playable.
Yeah, but it is. I can't think of anywhere where I haven't seen animals. To be honest with you, yeah, it's very well spread out. It's nice in terms of that. Like there's some maps where people say, oh, there's big dead spots, and sometimes there is there, but I really haven't seen it on this map. It's got a really good layout, and I think, like you're saying, that is because the terrain has been laid out so nicely on it, basically. So, yeah. So, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, please throw, if you guys got any questions for Kevin, just
Do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah,
I've seen
pull some out. Yeah, go for gold. Yeah.
So I've seen someone asking if we will revisit previous reserves. Previous reserves.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it's a bit too hard technically to do that. What I intend to do, I noticed there were some bugs on all terrains, like floating grass, floating stuff, maybe weird distortions on the terrain, and it's hard to change that without having a big patch because terrain data is very heavy. But as soon as I get to do that, I'll try to fix as much as I can on the previous reserves. But changing the vegetation, changing the layouts, I don't think it's gonna happen.
Here's what, dude. I know this is not new. Don't forget the flag. Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I think it might be time for a flag update. I think. That was. It's funny because it's such a nice map, and then right until you look at the flag, basically, it's become a meme in the in the community now. So it's good times. But yeah, okay. I'm sorry to cut you off there a little bit, but Kevin, talk about antler clipping and maybe put it in all maps, or is it on Iraq side? I think it is on all maps now, right? Or is it just?
It's not on the terrain side.
No, it's not. But I do believe that fix should be universal now. I don't. Please let us know if you're still experiencing the clipping. It could happen sometimes through bushes and stuff, of course, but it shouldn't fall through the ground anymore. So.
Yeah, I mean, we had. I don't know if it's still something that's out live, but I remember that on Virunga there is some terrain clipping in some parts.
Okay.
I should have fixed it. I hope so.
Yeah.
But if it's not fixed, it's going to be fixed sometime soon. But that's the kind of changes that I can do without changing too much of the layout.
Yeah, gotcha. Ranak was just saying that Phil has confirmed that the flag will be fixed in 2025. So,
Yeah.
it's good times.
What's the most complicated landscape to create? Weirdly enough, something like this with a lot of mountains is not that hard. I would say the hardest one would be the flat ones, especially in this game. It doesn't sound obvious, but having a flat terrain is super hard not to make, but to populate and to have it interesting. I think that's one of the problems with Virunga that we tried to tackle on, and we managed it to some degree, is that, you have a flat terrain for 2 kilometers and you have nothing to break the view, nothing to make it interesting. And you can see all the defaults of all of the problems of the terrain on those kind of terrains. I think it's more fun to do those terrains with like rolling hills and mountains and all those things, because you can make it interesting visually. But yeah, I think the most difficult for me would be a flat terrain like this.
Yeah, it's actually interesting, isn't it? And like, people would imagine that building mountains and things is the challenging part, but it's that third dimension you mentioned where you have to think about, like, animal rendering and all sorts of. I mean, that is the whole thing, right? When it's so flat, there's nothing to block anything and change those sight lines. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't want to say too much about how you make a game, but the it's all tricks and like trying to hide stuff at one point and trying to make stuff look good. And it's harder when the terrain is flat. I've seen one from Ronak that said, "At one point, do I consider a map done?" It's a hard one. I think I'd like the way I do it is I settle like milestones and say at this date I should have this, but it's a hard one. Like you always want to be tweaking stuff. You always want to be like, yeah, but this mountain is a bit like it would be good if it was a bit more slopey, and maybe we could put the forest here. So I try to judge like I want to have the big structure of the terrain at one point and commit to it and do whatever happens now, I don't touch it and go on to other like steps.
Yeah, I was going to say actually, it must be something you could probably just infinitely tweak almost. You know, like just,
Yeah.
and you at some stage you got to go. Nah, I'm happy with it. That's it. I'm going to go crazy if I do too much more.
Yeah, and it's the thing is the position I have now. It's a weird position because it's at the start of a chain. I'm like looking for ideas and producing the base terrain, and then somebody takes it and puts vegetation on it, and then somebody takes it and puts animal on it. So since everybody else's work relies on my input, I have to be done at one point. I can't be changing stuff all the way to the end because otherwise, like,
yeah, it's just infinitely continuing.
So I have to refrain and say that stuff is done at one point. Otherwise, it's not. It's just not productive, and yeah, it's just not good.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. There we go. Waterfalls and running water. That is a. I think that's not on you though, right? Too. That's a.
I would like to. It's a bit of a problem I have with the engine right now. I've been a bit vocal about this in the office, because it's weird. Like I would have liked to have a river flowing in this reserve, and I think water it plays a big gameplay like role in the game. Like since animals have drink zones and all this. Yeah, I see Phil.
Yeah.
Like, so having running water over, like it's hard to have a river and a mountain if the river has to be flat.
Yep.
Because you go back to that problem of having mountains that just pop out of the ground and go sky up really quickly. I would like to. It's something we talked about a lot and that I would like to have as soon as possible, because something like that impacts the design of the map right away. And that's something that before we do a new map, we have to know. We have to know if we have that tech as soon as possible. I'm looking for it. Let's say.
Yeah, I mean, it took Classic 11 maps, 12 maps. They finally got it. They got some, and I think it was like a huge undertaking for that too. Huge, basically a huge undertaking. But yep, I guess one day it'll happen.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Or if it doesn't happen soon, I'm gonna get more vocal about it. Like they're lucky now that we are working from home, but I'm gonna start calling people now.
Just calling Phil on his off days on the weekend. Have we got running water yet, Phil?
How hard is it to make two different biomes in one map, like the Burn Forest and Yukon? It's not that hard, and it's something interesting that we look for. That I look for, because I don't know if people have a real sense of scale of the maps, but they're 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers of playable area, and the big map is like 16 by 16. So it's a lot it's a lot of terrain. And the problem I have with terrain this big is how do you make it interesting and recognizable? Like how my goal when I do something like this is that I want to, in one screenshot or in one like half a second, you can guess where you are in the map. So it's kind of necessary to have different biomes like this, so you can say like, yeah, this is the Norse swamp of Patagonia, for example, or yeah, the dead forest. It's something we actually actively look for. Uh, it should have this one should have had a dead forest too. We didn't have time for it, but it should have
Yeah, because
had one.
you're talking about because like an old forest fire kind of thing, because that's quite common, I think, in this area of
Yeah, and
America too, isn't it?
there's that, and there's also
Oh, the pine beetle. Is that what
yeah,
it is? Yeah, I know
yeah.
what you're talking about.
But we already had that in Yukon.
Oh,
So
okay, I gotcha. Yeah, those pine beetles are pretty bad.
would we have any maps in Canada? We already have kind of.
Yeah,
We have one in Yukon, and Layton Lake is not so far from what you would find in Canada.
There
also.
we go. There we go. Ransom, oh, some console questions. Actually, I saw. Sorry, just a question before on YouTube, and it was saying, why aren't we asking what these people like? And I'm just going to address this too. We do quite regularly, actually. And speaking of that, you probably want to be checking social media tomorrow night. So we're just going to be dropping a little bit of juicy something in there. But yeah, we do surveys. We do player surveys as well. So everything that we do, we know what you guys want and who wants what and what scale as well. So,
And it's also very helpful to us to have that.
To make the right decisions, eh?
I see two questions that I want to answer. Wait. Let me find it.
It's all good. I'm basically just doing a walking simulator here.
What one was like, what would be my favorite reserve? What would I want to do? One big challenge that I want to tackle, but it's like I wanted to do that when I was doing the vegetation, was a jungle. But now that Tony's doing it, I don't know if I want to like have him go through this.
Yeah, I do.
But the jungle would be like a hard one, a really hard one to do.
But that would be like a kind of a dream project because of the complexity. Like you kind of would like that part of it. Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, and there was another one. What reference materials do we look at? We don't travel on location, and that's a bit sad, Phil. If you...
Yeah. So next, Matt, what do you think about the Caribbean?
The islands.
Yeah, gonna have a look at
no, we don't. Main source, I would say, I have two main sources that I really like. First is Google Map. It's dumb, but like it's one of the closest representations you can have. The problems with Google Map is that if you don't have a road, you don't have data. So everything that's near a road is quite good with this, and it gets you a good idea of like what's on the ground, what kind of trees, what are the silhouettes that you see around. So I spend quite a lot of time on Google Map. But another one is YouTube videos of two things of hunters, because obviously I have to see in what environment they hunt in and what they prefer. And hiking videos. I've seen so many hiking vlogs of Colorado and stuff like this.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it's hard because, like, you know, they often, like, I would wish that they have a camera like this and they, like, film what's in front of them, but mostly they have, like, you know, the
talking into it.
Yeah, so most of the vlogs are, you know, like a big face with a bit of background.
Yeah.
So
I gotcha. That's funny.
Do we use Houdini? We're starting. I'm not going to say how and why, but we are looking into it.
Good man.
Uh,
There we go. Snail Rancher said, as a native of Colorado, I think you guys did a great job on SRP. The only thing really lacking are the 19th century mine sites and beetle kill trees. But there we go. We just addressed the beetle kill trees, Snail Rancher, and so they just ran out of time, basically.
oh, and another one about the reference, and that one was a good one, and I thank Katie from the office for this. She had she took some books from the library, from the Stockholm library, about hiking in the Rocky Mountains.
Okay.
And in those books, like, it was stuff that, like, not visual references, but it was like a description of hiking trails from the Rocky Mountain National Park. But it had a lot of anecdotes and a bit of stories and descriptions and, you know, drawings of flowers and stuff like this. So it's nice material. It has been more useful for some stuff, like to find, like, not the nature, but what's in the reserve, like what type of buildings, what type of stuff you can find, what kind of camps, and this type of stuff. And it can also, like, provide anecdotes for narrative design stuff. So it was a good reference to books. You don't expect to use that often nowadays, but
You know, I think I missed that bighorn sheep. I feel like I'm just on my normal form. Using guns in this game. Yeah, I missed it on bow too, but I think it was like a 90-meter shot, so I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I even find it interesting too, because, like, we do work together, but we do completely different things, and, like, we don't even see each other anymore because of you know, the way the world is at the moment and stuff. So, but oh well. Oh, my zero. There's God. That'll be why I missed it. Thanks. My head is completely in different places at the moment, so I apologise, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I hit whatever it was 300 metres away then, right? You can't deny that. Oh, a flintlock pistol. That'd be kind of cool. And you guys would want to be in the Caribbean, I think. What am I talking about? We need a desert map. Oh, a desert map. I mean, this would be go back to a little bit about how tricky that would actually be, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I'm a bit torn in between, like, what the player base, what you guys want, and what we can do. And I'm a bit, like, hesitant to give you something that you think you want but would not be good because of constraints. So, I mean, a desert map would be, like, fun for the contrast to other reserves and the exotic nature of it. But would you want to be in a desert map that looks the same for, like, all the time? And would you go back to the map? Like, it's the kind of thinking we go through when you choose a reserve. Is that is it exciting enough for people to come back, like, months and months and months later?
Because apart from species and then some of the flora or fauna, I can't even remember, the plants anyway, it could potentially play a lot like Varonga, I suppose, right? So in terms of, like, the feel of the map, you know, it would just look a little bit different. So, but yeah.
But I mean, I don't pretend that I have all the answers, and maybe a good desert map can be made.
Yeah.
It's just that maybe at my level of skill and what I can do as a world designer now, maybe it's not the right time to do a desert map. Do you have any input on weather effects like snow and Yukon? Yeah, snow and Yukon was my idea. Kind of.
Yeah, I think it looks great. It's such a it's also like a bit of a slap in the face when it happens, because you can be, like, idling along like this and you're like, oh, it's snowing, and then everything goes white. So I think I quite like it from that point of view too.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I thought we could have it a bit better, even better than it is now, because it has some limitations, like the way it's implemented because of the technical stuff.
Yeah,
I
okay.
would like, for example, like on Yukon, you don't have um, your tracks or the sound of snow when you walk on snow. Like
Okay.
I would love to have, that sound of crushing snow
Yes.
when, or it being more like mushy when
Yep.
it starts to like melt.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Um, but yeah, I think it was a good idea, and it also the reception of this, people seeing it and thinking like it was a really good touch, made us think that okay, it's maybe we should have that, like at least one effect like this on every map that makes it distinct and very like recognizable
Yep.
and a bit exciting. It's also a design choice. One of the big that's something we talked about at the office for a while with Ronak also, is that at one point we knew that we wanted to do a Rocky Mountain map because people wanted it, and it seemed interesting at the time. But we already had Yukon that was not released so long ago, and Leighton Lake that I think is a quite good map from the basic game, from the base game. And the question was, how do we make it different? How do we make it like stand out and interesting for people to actually want to buy this one? Um, and one of the thing was like a cool answer was based on that weather thing, is that we have a part of the map that's above the clouds, and like I made a test terrain at first with a big mountain and like landing on top of it, and so like that when the time passes you're above the clouds, and when it gets gray like you're in the clouds and you can't see anything down. And I thought, yeah, that's a good thing. That's our like weather effect. That's our signature for this map.
Yeah, that is a really nice touch. I actually did a I did a time lapse on it because it's so beautiful, watching all the clouds change and stuff. So, hey Taco, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. So again, the release date, ladies and gentlemen, is the 11th of August for consoles. You don't think my animals are responding on console? That's interesting. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, the best thing you can do if you're ever having any issues is please send an email to support@thehunter.com. It all gets logged properly there and gets filtered through the correct channels. So
I have like one question here. How much work went into each reserve? About the same time. We don't have the same. Like we've grown. The team has grown in between, but since I've joined the team in 2 years ago for Viranga, we have the same time for each reserve, roughly. The thing is, we get a bit better at it every time. At least I hope I do. So, like Viranga, from a vegetation perspective, was my first trial, and then I hope it got better and better every time, and I hope that, yeah, this one, the Silver Ridge Peaks, the last one in date, is the better quality one. And the second part of that question was related to COVID. Was it different? Was it harder? It was a bit harder, but we're in the field of like we already work with servers and distancing and all this. Like we don't have to be at the office to work efficiently. It's better, but we've been able to manage, I guess. I can work from home. Like on my side, it's been okay to work from home. Is there something else? Which part of Silver Reach Peaks do I like the most? I'd say the top of the mountains, like the top of the Red Mountain. I think it's quite good. It was a bit of a challenge to make it look like something and not weird red stuff. So, yeah. Does it rain in the plains and snow in the mountains? I wish it would, but uh, technically it's not possible now.
Um,
In our engine.
Inline plans for so actually I'll just take this because there's a couple of questions going on there. One is anti-cheat, so that will happen probably one day when we start like trying to develop some sort of more competition-based things. Because at the moment you're really only competing against yourself. And I'll say this in here: if you guys, if you're in here and you need some sort of cheat, you're probably playing the wrong game because it's not really about getting the biggest animals. Well, actually, you can play it how you want to play it, but like you will lose the enjoyment if you just go hard out to try and get the biggest animals, and then you will lose the enjoyment even faster if you have to use cheats. So, but again, totally up to you. But at this stage, because there's no real like competition-based thing, like if people are using cheats to get big animals, that's a real hollow victory. Basically, and most of the time people can spot them as well. So, but anyway, I'm rambling.
I have one. When you do your maps, are animals also my responsibility? No. I mean, a bit and no. When we come up with an idea for a map, it doesn't come on its own. It has to come with an animal roster with it. And we try to work both of them at the same time because there's no point saying like we're gonna do Rocky Mountain with that roster and 2 months later animation comes and says yeah we can't do that. So when we think about all this, we literally sit together like everyone from every department, and we decide on the map all together and decide on the animals we want and what we want to do and what we can do, joined with the reserve, and then it's all one big package.
That's it. So many different people come together to make all those final decisions, like Kevin was saying, it all comes down to like technical issues, time issues, manpower issues. Those are basically the limiting factors to stuff. So
yeah, but it's also not only limiting factors, it's also like ideas and new stuff that we could do and that could be good. And so yeah, it's a team. It's really a team effort.
For sure.
And then like when I try to think about a reserve, it's part of our research, but it's not my responsibility. It's not.
Yeah, I gotcha. Kevin, how much of a hand do you have in the lighting systems that's on YouTube?
Oof. I have very little control over that, sadly. It's the lighting system and the engine, the rendering engine was coded some years ago by very intelligent people. And they have that system in place that works. I know how to fiddle with it. I know how to change certain stuff. I know how to affect what the screen looks like the effects on the camera, for example.
Yeah.
The color grading and this kind of stuff. But the specifics of the time of day, like the amount of time a day lasts, like I don't have control over it.
I gotcha.
It's weird. It was written, like the code was written in a way that everything is supposed to be based on natural laws and physics. So it's robust. It works. But yeah, so it's like when you have a car and you have an engine, you know how to take care of it a bit, But if you were to like go in and modify the engine yourself, it would be hard. It's I think it's a good like analogy for this.
Yeah, I gotcha. Please add Rougarou Bayou, Derek. You want to see a wetland map? That's interesting. What would you want to see, Derek, about the Rougarou Bayou?
Oof, hard
Yeah.
one. It's in the back of our heads. It's not something we didn't look at. It's not something we confirm we do.
Yeah.
It's one of those hard ones. It's the hard thing about this kind of places is going to be the water and how you interact with it. And I think there's some like it's not only a terrain issue. It's not only a terrain like thing to grapple. It's a design and animations and all this that we have to look at for it. But it's exciting. It's one of the good like exciting new places that Call of the Wild hasn't been to yet.
It's true. It's true. Again, so the console guys, if you got questions, we totally understand it. Myself and Phil actually did like a whole special stream on it last week. And I can highly recommend you go and watch it all again. Just skip through it if you need to, but I mean, we talk about it for an hour on there and answer a lot of questions and say sorry and stuff like that. But that's my best advice there, rather than us regurgitating it all now. So, I'm just having a bad animal day, Kev. I just can't even find anything to save myself. Let's go here. It's got to be
too loud, maybe making them afraid.
Yeah, no, it should be all good. Hopefully, there's some mountain goats here.
How much time from the map's creation goes to optimizing it? A bit of time. It's we don't have like a dedicated optimization pass. We try to do our best at every step, like from the get-go. But we have very competent people that look for it. Like Tony, that did all the vegetation, is very aware of those optimization problems. So we try to tackle on as early as we can.
I think I've just got to start shooting some stuff soon.
Thank you, Tata Freeze.
I saw a question quickly about the red deer Truax and the genetics. This isn't for you, Kevin, but I was just saying that I'm not sure exactly what you want us to elaborate on it. Basically, what we try to do is like there's actually a lot of different types of red deer. And what you call a big red deer depends on what part of the world you're from. So we did everything from, look at European racks to ones in Argentina and then the world record ones, which are in New Zealand. And so the world record ones, okay, the ones that are in game aren't even as big as the world record ones because, I mean, like a lot of people can't believe the red deer racks that are in the game at the moment. So, that's basically kind of the short and skinny of that. So...
do we work?
What's it? Sorry, where you go?
Somebody asked us if we work with concept art. No, we don't work with concept art. We don't have people like painting concept arts for new reserves. It's a bit slow to have that concept phase this way, but we do have kind of a concept phase where I have big panels of mood boards with like screenshots of different references and stuff like that. So we don't have any painted concept art, but we have a lot of references for the actual place we want to emulate.
Sorry, I'm just trying to grab some stuff from YouTube too, actually. Hey, Caden, how you doing, man? Like, I can highly recommend all your console players that would like answers to what's going on. Please, like, even stop watching this. Go and watch our stream from last week. Both myself and Phil sat down for a whole hour and addressed everybody and talked about it on there. So that's the best thing I can suggest you guys do. Could you create a map based exactly on a real life reserve?
I don't think we want to.
Limitation, like kind of limited us really. Like we can make bigger and better really with our, you know. I think.
One thing we have to. Do you mean like one for one, like exact?
I'm thinking, yeah, he must be like, hey, let's make Yellowstone Park or Yellowstone Park, Yellowstone Park. But yeah, like I think he's talking about a specific area that people know about. Make that hill range, make that lake, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't think we want to do that. There's some weird constraints when you do terrain for video games, is that if you take real distances, everything is so big that it takes so much time to go from one point to the other. So you kind of want to compress stuff as much as possible, so that the like a Call of the Wild map is very compressed. It's one problem that I try to mitigate as much as I can, but we want to have several biomes in a space that doesn't allow several biomes naturally. Like having 3 different kinds of forest in like 8 kilometers square, it's a bit hard. It doesn't happen that often in real life. So we have to compress stuff. And if we were to have like a real place, I don't know if, in terms of like rights and like legally, what if we could do like this. But what I usually try to do is have like I don't know, characteristics of one. Like for example, the Red Mountain, it exists. It's something that exists. If you want to look for Red Mountain 3, I think it's called. They didn't even bother to give it a name, but it's something that exists, and I interpret it and put it in the game, and that's something that I'm more inclined to do. Like
do a rendition of it, I guess, in your own style.
Yeah, that's it. Like an interpretation and a rendition of something like this, and have like components of this, and make a place that's unique and original, but like you can recognize part of it if you're from the place.
Yep. Maybe one day we can make a virtual hiking simulator, Kev, and we just go and film a whole walking track, and then you can redo it. I bet you people would do that. Yeah. How much of them? Sorry, I'm just trying to pick something out from YouTube again, but they're squabbling amongst each other.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for questions also. Yeah, there's one that was a bit like what I just said, like about the different about Scandinavia. If we were to do an area like this, I wouldn't be too bothered to take from different regions and say, okay, it looks a bit like Sweden, it looks a bit like Finland,
I think
like this.
I think that would be a great way to do it too, because like you say, they do look very similar. And you could grab like those awesome big hilly parts from Norway, and some lake areas from Sweden, and all sorts of different stuff, and then
Yeah, I try not to think in terms of like actual boundaries, of like legal boundaries between countries and or states. Like for example, this map is roughly inspired by Colorado, but if I found a reference that goes in the direction that's something we want, and it's not in Colorado, I'm not gonna like put it to the side. I like to think in terms of biomes and
that's right,
types of forests and
that's
I don't know, climates and stuff like this.
And that's why we always say it's based off an area. We don't say it is this area, basically. So
Would an Australian map be hard to
Turkish.
design? I think so, yeah. But Australia is interesting because it has different. You could have several reserves in Australia, I think.
Yeah,
And I think that's the case in Classic.
it is. Yep.
So it depends on what Australia you want. It's one of the hard things also that comes with designing reserves. Is what kind like we do surveys and we know what you guys want in a way. Like for example, when I came in, we knew that people wanted Africa. The thing is, Africa is massive, and what do you want for Africa? Do you want the actual African landscape? Do you want like a representation that you've seen in movies? Like it's hard to get a good like compromise between what people expect, what's really there, and in a feasible way and all this stuff. It's one of those like hard things to grapple.
You know that they're always going to ask for Pride Rock when you start doing stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what I know what people want. I kind of know what people want.
Give me Simba. I was just sending them downrange. They're going to go out of range of that.
I saw one. Kevin is a bear. I'd like to hunt him. Please no.
What the hell? That's a little bit strange. Do you use AutoCAD to design the map? There's a question
No.
on Facebook. Nope.
No. I use several tools for terrain creation, edition, and then it's in our proprietary engine, Apex. What's my favorite part of the development process? It's the start. It's there's two periods that I really like. It's the kind of concept phase we have at the start, like thinking about what we're gonna do. Then it's hard because at first when you have like the start of something, it doesn't look good, and then there's one boost at the end once the vegetation comes in and once you see the first animal in the reserve walking around. That's the moment where like everything comes alive. Because without saying too much about how we work, there's a long period of time where I work not alone, but pretty much on my own on the terrain. Because, as I said earlier, I have to do the terrain before somebody puts the vegetation on and somebody puts the animals on. So for a good part of the development process, I'm alone on the map, and nobody's like giving feedback and all this as much. And then at one point, like the map comes alive, and that's cool.
Okay. Here's a question for both of us: which one map would you like to add if it was totally 100% up to you, Kev?
One map that I would like to have. Yeah, we talked about the jungle. I don't know which jungle though.
This is the other thing, right? There's so many different jungle types.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know because I have very different like opinions on this because I mainly think from like this terrain and visual perspective, but I don't know if it would be fun to hunt in. But maybe like something like I don't know. Kenyan jungle, Kenya, something like that. That would be so.
Could be cool, right? Awesome.
That would be cool.
And I mean, this is a no-brainer, but for me, if I could only have one map ever, it'd be New Zealand, 100%. That'd be my map of choice. So.
So there's somebody that wants to hunt bears in Japan. Is there bears in Japan? I know they have a big problem.
They have There's sun bears in Asia, but I don't know what part of Asia they're in actually. So, but yeah, you're right. There's a lot of protected species and endangered species, and quite strict hunting conditions actually over there. I don't even know if you can hunt in Japan, to be honest with you. I've never heard of anyone.
You can, but it's hard.
Oh,
I've
okay.
looked into it a bit.
Yes.
I won't deny or confirm anything, but I've looked into it, and the problem they have is that it's really hard to get a gun there, and it's really hard to get. Having a license to hunt is not that hard, but having a gun is really hard and very punitive for a lot of reasons. So they don't have a lot of hunters, and now they even have a problem where they have too many boars and too many deers.
Okay, interesting. It sounds like I need someone with a bow over there. I don't know if this was intentional either, team, but I like it how they fan out when you kill them. I think it makes for some good trophy shots and stuff.
Has the team ever thought about transferring map straight from classic? No. No. Not that I know of. I'm not in those circles if it's talked about, but I don't know if it would be a good idea.
I mean, the other thing is the classic maps are quite a lot smaller, so maybe part of it could be a reference to it, but the other thing too is if you're like, okay, we're remaking Timber Gold Trails, for instance, which is kind of a little bit like this, people would have all these expectations of what it looks like, and I think it might be asking for setting up for failure. Really, that was quite a big boy, that one. We
could like go to a same region and like revamp and do something new, but I won't. I hope I don't hurt anyone by saying this, but I didn't play classic and I don't know much about classic. I just know a few things we discussed about in the office, but yeah, I try not to be too stuck on what classic did.
Can you please add hitboxes to antlers and horns? It is done, Bison Hunter. It is done, so they don't fall through the ground anymore. VR support, maybe one day.
Somebody would like to see a map that has totally new, different animals. I don't know if we can do that. We can try, but it's a hard one. The thing is, the animation and design and like behavior side of doing animals is really hard and takes a lot of time. I don't know if we could do it like an all new reserve, but we tried. This one has quite a good amount of new animals, I think.
Yeah.
And a big one, like the turkey was really, really like it was the point, like when I saw the first turkey fly and land was the point when I like was convinced that the map would be a good one.
It was the moment you started weeping with happiness.
Yeah. How many unique vegetation elements go into a map? I would say about 50 different assets. Like we have different variations of trees and grass and all this. Like 50 to 60 different assets, I would say.
There was a really good question too. Maybe you dodged it, I'm not sure. Feel free to not answer it. But Katush was saying, do you ever fear of running out of inspiration?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. The thing is, like, with every map we do, the list of possible maps like gets like shorter and shorter. And the list of like new ideas and new maps, it gets shorter. And it's like the big question is, okay, once we've done that, what do we do that keeps the player like excited? But we're not to that point. We have a few maps. We got you covered for years, I think.
Yeah,
with new maps.
There's still a lot to do, but that's the whole thing. Is like, okay, we've done the Rocky Mountains now, and then that's kind of a little bit scary on its own too.
Yeah, and whew, we've done that.
Yeah.
What's the next? And they're getting harder and harder also.
Yeah.
So.
think
Do
I
you
did.
put logs and rocks at certain locations as landmark for map building? Yes, I try. Um, so um, what what you have to know is that so we do not plant every single tree by hand, of course, because we are like three artists, so it would be like impossible with the size of the map. So we have to find systems and procedural rules to place those. But we can have specific stuff. We can have specific places made by hand. And I tried to have some on this map. That's something that I want to do more on the next maps that I do work on. Is that, yeah, have more like visual and how do you say, like landscape, like world building and story and stuff like this. That's not really something we would have as a recorded line or as a codex thing, but like small funny things happening in the terrain and trying to hide stuff for you guys to find.
If you ever get asked what's the longest part of takes the longest time to make the map, Kevin, you should say waiting for the trees to grow.
Yeah, waiting for the grass, waiting for the lakes to fill.
You put the hoses in them, fill them up. Oh dear.
I see a lot of questions about technical, like
Yeah.
graphic stuff.
Yeah.
And upgrades. I don't think we can have big upgrades. We're trying to have new tech and new features, but the engine we have, I don't think it's gonna get updated. The game is out. We can't like go on and just change everything.
It's
like this.
exactly like you were saying before. Is a car comes out, it has an engine. You have to, work with that engine basically. So, past that, but usually, actually I can't think of. Maybe there are a few games, but usually a whole new game will come out if the engine's going to change. So.
Yeah. Favorite albino or rare? The white turkey. The first turkey I saw in this map was a white turkey.
Oh, really?
It's quite, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I say cue my classic story. It's basically the same thing too. I was playing classic. I'd never seen a turkey in real life, and definitely not in the wild anyway. And I was playing classic, and I saw a white turkey, and I was like, I thought turkeys were like dark coloured, Yep, it was a rare.
I have a fun question about like standards. It's weird. I don't know if people will agree with me, but so before working on the Hunter, I was playing the Hunter, Call of the Wild, and to me, the first three reserves, so that's Leighton, Ishvelden, and Medved, are like really good looking, and were made by very, very good, like, and competent, like really good craftsmen, especially like Frida. I have Frida in mind because that's her work that I looked at the most. And when I do stuff, I look at the first maps and I'm thinking, yeah, can I do at least as good as this? And so that's my standard, and
your benchmark.
That's my benchmark, and that's
Wow.
because it was made at a different time when the team had like I don't know, different resources and a bit more time maybe, and they had a clear vision to make to go forward, and I came in a bit like, let's start to make that work. So like that's a bit of my standard, and I wish that with everything that I make now for Call of the Wild, that every like reserve we do, it's better in one area, and or at least as good as those.
I think you, like someone else said, I think you've punched through your benchmark with this one, Kevin. It's beautiful, dude. So, yeah, really nice. Now it's 5 o'clock, Kevin, but I'm not going to end just yet. Have you got any questions you want to ask these people?
Yeah. What do you want to see next?
Yeah, there we go. Drop it in, ladies and gentlemen. What is the next reserve that you would like to see?
No, I don't hunt in real life. Yeah. Okay, so I see some Australia, Scandinavia.
Yeah, Kenya, Arabian Desert, Texas, Australia, Finland, New African map, Australia, New Zealand. It's pretty split. Rattlesnakes. Rattlesnakes is not a map. Scandinavia again. Waterfowl map. Africa part 2. Dude, that is really split.
I'm just like saying just like this. Like I'm just dropping this.
Yes.
Try to press me, chat, and try to have something we didn't consider.
Here we go.
Because everything so far is in my book. Everything is on my list. Come up with something that's really good and innovative, and so I can like screenshot the chat. And when we come up with the new map, I can say this person had the idea.
Yeah, Afghanistan or somewhere like that, Middle East.
Oh, that was on my list. Sorry.
Oh.
I'm not gonna say anything, of course. I'm just gonna look at the answers and take some notes.
Yeah, if you see him picking up a pen, ladies and gentlemen, you know you're on a winner there.
With my like nice book.
You know, it's funny is that we often joke and talk about a map with extinct animals on it. You know, like a Jurassic Park, but for the hunting world kind of thing. You would still have to base that probably off an area in the world, unless it freed you up to do biomes from different parts of the world, because you were only going to do one of those maps. That'd be kind of cool, I reckon.
Yeah,
that'd be quite challenging to research, though, wouldn't it? Or
we do have some more outlandish ideas for maps that I'm not taking as seriously as I should when I bring those up in meetings. But yeah, I have some crazy ideas for maps.
I'd like to hear these. I like crazy. That's good. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I hope that's been a good little insight into how Kevin works and how he comes up with these beautiful maps. And Kevin, thank you very much for joining me, man. It's always great. We'll try and get some more devs on shortly too, talk about like the animals and stuff like that. I'd love to get Cecilia on here, but I don't think she'll be keen on that. She's the artist that creates all the beautiful animals models. So, but she needs a lot more credit too. She does like everybody. Everyone does a fantastic job, but she really turns out some beautiful stuff as well. So. Map and animals hand in hand, and then, it's you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Alrighty, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic evening, and again, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us, mate.
Thank you. Thank you, people.
Bye.